G'day guys, welcome to another episode of Exposed. So today we are back on Pinis' account here. You may recognize him from SWC. He did have to swap some of the letters around here because they wouldn't let him in with that name. So he had to actually call himself Sinip during the tournament. So he has now swapped it back to his original name that he goes by here. So he's allowed me to jump on the account today and have a look through all of his runes and all of his monster builds that he did use in SWC. He hasn't changed anything just yet. Alrighty, so let's get into it. Let's just get started. We'll just go through them all here one by one. We'll see the stats that he's got on them and what sort of rune builds he's using, whether he's using Violent, whether he's using Despair, who's on Nemesis, who's on Will, who's on Revenge. We'll have a quick look and see how he's got them all built here. So, starting with the Praha, you can see here he's gone for the high crit rate build, perfect for the oracles. That's typically what you want. Not the highest accuracy, but just overall efficiency, trying to get out as much HP and really good defense on this Praha. That's one of the stats that gets overlooked, I think, a lot in Summoner's War. It's one of the weaker stats with additional damage basically bypassing defense completely, but not everything is built on additional damage. There are a lot of damage dealers out there that utilize crit and things like that. So having high defense on some of your units is really, really good as well, just to make him that little bit tankier. And you can see here that he's gone for a Violent Revenge build. The Revenge build on the Praha over the Will. The Will is pretty good for the first turn, obviously. It does offer you that little bit of protection, but over the course of a longer match, which typically a lot of his matches are, the Revenge set will offer you a lot more value going through over many, many turns. Every single time that you get hit, you get that little bit of chance to revenge, and especially on the Praha, you get to utilize that skill 1 turn rotation just to try and interrupt a unit there. So it's a little bit of an extra RNG that you can stack in your favor. So he's got her built on a speed, crit rate, and HP build here. And he's opted for the perfect Oracle build here with the additional damage artifact on the right side and some more additional damage here on the left side. That's a really good artifact, 184% speed. Oh my god, is that a quad? I think that might be a quad. That's incredible. So really, really good, efficient overall Praha build. Alrighty, next up here we have the Annabelle. So another one of the units that he really enjoys using here, he's opted for the Violent Nemesis build here. Again, just to help with that little bit of extra value. The Will is really good, again, for the first turn, but over the longer course of the match, the Annabelle is going to be getting targeted down pretty big. The Nemesis there will just help it rotate its skills, rotate its turns, and get a little bit more attack bar, potentially interrupt. And then we all know Annabelle can just absolutely pop off with her skill 1 sleeps, into rotating skills, into the cleanse, into the violent procs, into the re-sleeps, and we've all seen those Annabelle games. So he's gone for really, really tanky here. 100 res. I think she does awaken into resistance. She does. So he has utilized the fact that she's awoken into resistance as well. Put that extra little bit of resistance on her and just to add that little bit more RNG in his favor. So you can see here actually quite slow. A lot of his units here are quite slow. This is like the common trend with Pinis' builds. He's slowed all of his units right down to the sort of like 265 to sort of 260 range, somewhere in and around there. Some are even slower, just so he can squeeze out as much efficiency as he can. That's kind of the game when you're playing really, really high G3 RTA. You want to get as many stats as possible on your units, and you can sacrifice a little bit of speed to do so. So the Annabelle is on a speed, HP, and HP build. We've gone for some skill 3 accuracy here to help land those slows and defense breaks, and a little bit of additional damage. And then on the left side here, some minus from water and some minus from wind, and a little bit more damage dealt on fire. So just some overall good efficiency, good sort of extra stats in there just to try and buff up this Annabelle a little bit more. Next we have Shiho here. With the high base speed here, he's opted to go for a little bit of a slower build again just to utilize it. Looks like it's on a speed, HP, and attack build here. So just actually really, really thick. Quite often you don't see Shihos this thick. So that could potentially catch some people off guard looking to maybe snipe it out in turn 1 just to get rid of it early. With being this thick and this tanky, they probably won't be able to. And then it's still left on the field, and then you can sort of take over from there. The artifacts on the Shiho, he's opted again for being a multi-hitter with its skill 3 and a bit of turn rotation on its skill 2 as well. Opted just for the additional damage on the right-hand side and some more additional damage on the left-hand side here too. Okay, the next unit we have here is a Tetra on a Swift Nemesis build. I'd say he's probably got on the Swift here just because he's run out of a violent set that he wanted fast enough. He might be using this, I'd say, specifically as a Gianna counter. We're on a speed HP build. And really, really tanky. It looks like it moves in front of all of his units here that he's got. So really tanky, moves first to potentially just cleanse off a lot of debuffs and things like that. Okay, next we have the Josephine on a violent focus build here. So you can see another unit here that he hasn't got on Will. So this one here is opted for the focus set. You don't get any extra value out of that in terms of what it actually does, but just the stats on it, to pump up the stats as much as possible can be really, really good. Just sort of to hit those threshold that you need. Quite often there's sort of stat requirements where a unit's potential isn't fully unlocked until you can sort of hit those markers. So he's got her on a speed, crit rate, and HP build with some skill 1 crit damage here. That's a pretty nice artifact for her. And then some more crit damage here and just some extra crit damage. So he's kind of opted for a really, really tanky build here. Good accuracy to land the strip provokes, to land the stuns, and a crit rate build here. So just to get some good damage out of her as well. Next up, we have the Hernia here, a great Oblivion unit on a speed HP build. Again, opted for the Nemesis here instead of the Will, just for that extra value as the match goes on. With some skill 3 accuracy for the Oblivion, and then some minus damage wind here with a pretty big amount of speed proportional to lost HP as well. So that'll just help rotate her as much as possible when she starts getting a little bit low on health. But with that amount of HP, she's over 40,000 HP total. That's extremely tanky and really, really good defense on this as well. Like 855 defense is incredibly, incredibly good. So you can see down here, he does own a Volantis. So as a Volantis user, you're going to be seeing Junos virtually every single match. It's one of the automatic sort of counter picks to a Volantis here. So having this Hernia in his box here just for that extra Oblivion unit is going to be really, really good for him. And I know he does utilize that a lot whenever he needs to bring in multiple Oblivion units, so they can't just ban one out. Okay, the next here we have here is the Abelio. So really, really slow here, but he's gone for quite tanky with HP, good amount of defense, and on a crit damage build. So he can actually get some good damage out with this Abelio as well. And he is on a HP, crit damage, and HP build. I think at this speed here, you definitely would require Will on it. There's absolutely no chance ever that this thing's ever going to be taking first turn. And you also don't want to be getting reset with it. So if you are going to be bringing this into things that are like those Oliver sort of CC Chung Pang type cleaves, you do want to bring this in here just so they can't reset it straight away. And they have to sort of strip it before they can sort of take care of it. And he's gone for some skill 3 recovery here and a bit more accuracy, and then just some minus damage from wind on here on the left side. So just really tanky, keep it alive, and it just be annoying, that annoying interrupting unit. So that's why you can sort of put a little bit less speed on this unit here, because it will take a turn instantly whenever the unit drops below the, how much is it? Is it 30%? 40%. So because he procs a turn every time a unit goes below 40% HP, he will automatically take a turn anyway. So this is why you can run him a little bit slower, as he will just fill his attack bar regardless of his speed. Next we have the Bulwark here, gone for the 100 resistance build, quite tanky. It's just speed tuned, really good defense again, and he's kept this one on. A lot of people have swapped over to a violent build with the Bulwark now that they gain a stack every time they take a turn, but he's obviously just left his on with the shield, will, endurance set here. It's just an incredibly efficient set, and doesn't then have to steal one of his other premium sort of violent sets, and he can use that on another unit. So not perhaps the most efficient build for a Bulwark these days, but the fact that he's got this amount of stats on it, and it still offers pretty good utility with the shield runes anyway. So pretty good build, and like I said, the fact that it won't steal a set from somebody else. And we're just going for some more skill 1 accuracy here to help him land that strip, and then some minus damage from wind on the left side as well. So he's on a speed, HP, and HP build. Next we have the Suzuka on a HP, attack, and resistance build, with some skill 3 accuracy on the left side, and some more damage from minus damage from wind on the left side here as well. So again, another really, really tanky unit. You can see what he's trying to do here. Basically, he's just trying to keep everything alive. He's got a lot of support units that he's sort of mixing into his monster box here. So they need to sort of be alive to sort of keep doing their job, and really, really start efficient here. Like 100 res onto your Suzuka, pretty good accuracy with the extra accuracy out of the artifacts. She's going to be landing most of her debuffs most of the time, only maybe missing a few if it's 100 res units, or if he's getting unlucky by the 15% base resistance. But really tanky, and actually pretty good attack on this Shizuka too. Next we have a Squeaky here, another 100 res build. Pinis loves his 100 res builds. It's really, really good. There's plenty of people out there that don't run max accuracy because they figure we can sort of get away with it, and they instead sort of tunnel a lot of their stats into their HP, or trying to get their speed up, or trying to get their attack up and their damage up and things like that. So running a bunch of 100 res units, it doesn't always pay off, but it definitely adds some RNG on your side of the field, and when it does pay off, it's incredibly powerful. One of the biggest things that can swing a match in RTA isn't violent proc, it's actually resistances. So having some 100 res units here just to allow you to sort of take advantage of that when you can be really, really good strategy. And he's on a speed, HP, and HP build, opting for the revenge set here for the extra value. Obviously getting a revenge out of him will add a little bit of healing whenever he revenges, as well as offer a potential defense break. So good value out of the revenge set on him as well. And opted for some extra life drain here for a bit of extra healing, and some more life drain on this side here with some additional damage as well. So really sort of tanky, and potentially has some good solo potential into depending on what the enemy team is. Next we have the Nane here, another just sort of really tanky unit with really, really good attack on this one as well. So this would be really good for him to bring into if they have a Douglas or things like that, offering the attack break on skill 1, and has a really good chance of actually landing that without glancing, as well as then still being really, really tanky and able to survive a lot of the other units. The high base speed here allows for him to drop a little bit of speed off. The accuracy, reasonable accuracy on it. It does offer a defense break on its skill 2, the attack break on skill 1, so you do want that to land most of the time. So he's got a bit of accuracy there to make sure that that happens. And this is on a speed, attack, and attack build. Really, that's speed, attack with that amount of HP. So he must just have really good HP subs there. You can see here, like, pretty good HP subs. Pretty good HP subs on all of these. So yeah, that's where he's sort of getting all that out. And we've got some additional damage on this side with some extra skill 2 accuracy for that defense break, and then just some more additional damage on the left side here as well. Next up we have the Minato on a vampire energy build, hey? Speed, crit damage, and resistance. So we've got another 100 res unit here. This is kind of like a Water Douglas, right? This is a unit that's potentially got solo capabilities, so he can bring this into whenever there's sort of really, really fire heavy or potentially no wind threats. Typically it's weak to debuffs and things like stuns, so you don't want to bring it into many things where it's going to just get stunned and basically become useless. But there are matches where this unit can be either a force ban, or if they let it through, there's just no way for them to kill it. So he's got it runed up here in the box, ready to go just in case. And again, with the amount of stats on it, good amount of HP, doesn't worry too much about the speed. With these sort of solo units that kind of do their damage when they're being hit, they don't necessarily need to take a natural turn as often, so he can opt for extra stats on this one instead. And he's gone for some more skill 2 accuracy here, and then just some counter-attack damage, and then crit damage is good and bad. So just some more damage, basically. Alrighty, next up we have a Vanessa here. So really, really tanky. Probably as much HP as you can get out of it. 100 res build again here. So we've already seen like 400 or 500 res units, which is very similar to the last time we were on his account. He really does favor these. And he's obviously just got really good efficient resistance runes, you know, like look at this rune here. This is a beautiful rune with just so many stats across it as well, and the fact then that you can put it on a unit and get it up to 100 res, as well as still maintaining all the HP and everything that you need. It sort of just allows you to, one, able to survive, but like I said before, one of the biggest things that can swing momentum in a match is a resist. So really, really good efficient way to rune up your units. If you have those resistance runes lying around, you may as well put them on some units like this. And this is on a HP, crit damage, and resistance build. Going for some extra skill 2 accuracy here for the defense break, and then just some minus damage from fire on the left side here, and a bit of water and wind too. So just trying to survive, remain on the field so she can get as many revives out as she possibly can. Okay, next we have the Verd here, just a triple revenge Verd, speed, crit rate, and HP. Some additional damage artifacts, and then some minus from water on the left side here, just to try and keep it alive. 100 res, 100 crit rate, really tanky, good defense. The speed doesn't matter too much, but it's not absolutely dirt slow. It's probably tuned to go behind, a little bit behind, maybe like 20 or 30 speed behind the rest of his box, but it will be behind them. So if they doesn't get hit and he doesn't revenge, the rest of the team can go, and then he can follow up behind them to reboost the entire team. So he does have the extra value out of there, not just relying on his revenge. Next we have the Juno, so on a Despair Nemesis build, so speed, crit rate, and HP. We've gone for some skill 3 recovery here, just to heal her up as much as possible whenever she does take a turn, which is really, really nice. This can be really annoying when you think you're about to kill her, that she takes a turn, she heals back to full health. And then just some more additional damage on the left side here as well. So opted for the Nemesis set here over the Revenge, which is probably more typical. You do get sort of a guaranteed value out of the Nemesis set when you get hit. It's not as big of a boost as obviously if it revenges and gains the 10% per hit off of the skill 1. So it's not going to gain 30% attack bar, but it is a guaranteed boost with the Nemesis as opposed to relying on the RNG out of a revenge set here. And I dare say that he's just wanting to utilize these really fast Nemesis runes just so he can have his Juno tuned in front of the rest of his box as well, and in front of all of his follow-up units. Next we have the Rica, another 100 res unit here on a HP resistance build. Some skill 3 accuracy, some minus damage from water, just that sort of last pick. If there's no immunity on the other side of the field, they're not very water heavy, there's no cleansers, things like that, you can pick this Rica and she can, we've sort of seen her but in the past where she can just solo some teams. She pumps out a lot of damage with her skill 3, a lot of CC, the fact she's on Despair, and has the AoE stun on skill 2, and then as well as potential with her skill 1 sleep to just rotate back to her skills every single turn. So really strong unit that if you can pick her up last in those niche spots. Next we have the Antaras on a Despair will set on an attack, crit damage and attack build. Gone for some additional damage by attack here, and then just some more additional damage by attack with some attack up effect. Really good on Antaras. He obviously self-attack buffs when he takes a turn, so the additional damage by attack is really, really strong for him, and also being a multi-hitter. But the fact that he's also been able to maintain really, really high HP and good defense on him as well, and good enough crit rates, because he also gets the self crit rate buff. So every time he does proc and take a turn, his crit rate will go up to 99 crit rate, and big damage with this crit damage build as well. So that's the thing with Antaras. He needs absolutely 0 speed, so you can just go for absolutely efficient runes, as many stats as you possibly can, and virtually you don't want any speed. So he has some on here. Where is it? It might be oh, there it is there. So the only speed he has on this Antaras is the 6 speed. That's an innate on this Despair rune. So really efficient Antaras build, and I don't know how often he would want to use this. Maybe just brings it into some Dianas and things like that, more as a deterrent, but really efficient. And when he does get through, he's going to hit extremely hard. He will be killing units. I know that Pinis likes to use Nana a fair bit, and Antaras pairs with Nana incredibly well into some of those wind heavy units. So if they steal the Oliver, or they're doing taking a Diana, like I said, Antaras can be really strong. Next we have the Marsha. So he's gone for looks like a bit of a really tanky build here. Again, Marsha's base speed is just absolutely insane, so you can run her really slow and still have her tuned to your box. It looks like it's got it behind a lot of his strippers, so he can strip any wheel that's on there and then utilize the Marsha defense break and absorb straight away on a violent Nemesis build, on a HP, crit damage and attack build. So that's how he's able to get it so tanky with that HP slot too. And like I said, the fact it's got a really high base speed, he's still able to get it fast enough to be tuned with his box. And gone for some skill 2 accuracy and crit damage, and then just some more crit damage is less and single target, just some more damage on the left side here as well. Really efficient Marsha, really efficient Marsha. That's incredibly tanky. Okay, next we have Ken. So really slow, so I'm assuming this is just going to be a Leo counter type Ken on a attack, crit damage and attack build on the Nemesis there. So if the Leo does try to hit it to push it back, the Nemesis will counteract the pushback, so the Ken can actually then take a turn and potentially move in front of the team. Otherwise it'll go last, but just do big damage, and just some additional damage by attack on this side, and then just some more additionals on this side here, with obviously his skill 3 being a multi-hitter that instantly gains another turn, his skill 2 being a multi-hitter that also absorbs, so can take a turn a little bit faster as well. So multi-hitting means really good, works well with additional damage sort of artifacts. And yeah, like I said, just a absolute sort of really that's a lot of attack. So because he's not able to put any speed on this at all, being a specific Leo counter, just pumped out the stats there. Pretty good HP, means he'll be able to survive a reasonable amount. Really good attack there with the obviously he's on the fatal set, and then still able to get pretty good crit damage out as well. Next we have the Douglas. This is kind of like the Minato, right? This is the fire sort of version of it, where it's one of those units, if they don't bring anything that can counter it at all, you can pick this last and know that it's going to have the ability to solo the team, which means that they're either going to have to force ban it out, or they're just going to basically instantly lose. This is how you need to utilize your Douglas. A lot of people try to overuse him and pick him early in the draft. If the opponent still has a couple of picks to go, or they have a unit out there that can already potentially kill Douglas, that's when you don't want to be picking him, because that's when he won't be able to do his job properly. He really is should be reserved for sort of like a 5th pick, when there's nothing out there that can kill him, or if they only have 1 pick left to go, and then you know that you can just ban that last pick, and then that they have to then ban your Douglas, or they risk being soloed. So he is on a Vampire will set with an attack, crit damage and attack, and then just some skill 2 crit damage here, bit of counterattack damage, attack proportional to lost HP, so just to pump that attack up even more if he is getting sort of hit and has a little bit low health there.
and then just some more on this side as well, some more counter-attack damage as well. Obviously, most of his damage is coming out from when he being hit and being revenged. At that speed there, he's not going to take too many natural turns, but that's not really what he's designed to do. Next, we have the Tamoe. So he's been utilizing this Tamoe a fair bit actually recently. It's one of his early picks that he will like sort of take in the draft here. Tamoe is incredibly strong unit. I utilize her on my account. I utilize her on most of the people's accounts that I play on as well. She's an absolutely insane unit, offering the speed lead, the sort of pseudo CC with her skill 2, making them sort of decide whether they want to use their skills or not. And then the spread of all her debuffs with skill 3 with the absorb just rotates as well. And then her skill 1, she's got, well, I think, the best skill 1 in the game. This is absolutely insane for a skill 1. The fact that it's got an 80% chance to strip and a 60% chance to stun on top of that is absolutely broken. That's better than any unit that strips on skill 1. That it's better than most units that have a stun on skill 1, and she's got both of them combined. So an incredibly powerful unit, incredibly strong, and he's been utilizing this one a lot. So on a speed, HP, and HP build, we've gone for some skill 3 accuracy here, and then just some minus damage from fire. Marsha is one of the biggest sort of meta units right now, so a lot of these fire units, rather than opting for minus damage from water, he's gone for the minus damage from fire, just specifically because this is what the meta is, right? So this is what you kind of got to look at. It's not always just the same thing. You don't always just put minus wind on your water. You don't always put minus water on your fire. You got to sort of look at what you're running into, what the problems are, what units are potentially out there that are going to kill you, and then counter those units specifically. That's an incredibly tanky Tamoe. And like I said, the reason he's able to get these stats on these units is because he's running a bit slower. He's running about, I think about 20 speed slower than most G3, maybe even more, maybe 25 to 30 speed slower than most G3 players out there. But because of that, he's got an extra sort of 10k HP than most units out there as well. So it is a trade-off, and this is the style that he's running. Again, he is a Volantis user, so the Volantis offering the potential interrupt cut from a turn 2 makes it a lot easier and more viable for him to sort of play that turn 2 / turn 1 aggression sort of style with potential interrupting. Next, we have the Fire Robo here on a Despair build, speed, HP, and accuracy. I think he's just opted for the blade set here being this fast just to have it speed tuned. Additional damage and additional damage here. He's got big multi-hitters, really tanky, really annoying unit, really good into things like Diana and Oliver that are going to be taking extra turns. So really, really good unit and potential there to sort of cut and interrupt and disrupt the enemy team. Next, we have the Jamaya, another one of those sort of higher base speed units that he can opt to run a little slower. So he's on the Violent Will set here on a speed, crit damage, and attack build. He's gone for some single target crit damage here. Crit damage is good and bad, and then some minus damage from fire, a bit of minus damage from wind here as well. So really efficient Jamaya. Good amount of crit rate with crit damage as well. He hits incredibly hard with his skill 1. But he's also pretty tanky here. He's not one of those sort of bruiser super tanky units with only plus 16k HP, but it is tanky enough that he can survive 1 or 2 hits. Next, we have the Leo, beautiful, absolutely efficient with 0 speed, but also on a 100 res build. That's quite different for a Leo. So we've got HP, crit damage, and resistance here with some skill 3 accuracy. I think that's for the pushback, right? Skill 3 pushback here. Whenever you attack, so some skill 3 accuracy on that side, and then we've gone for some more sort of single target damage and just some extra damage here on the left side. Really efficient again, pretty tanky, good amount of attack, really good defense on this, really high crit rate with crit damage, and the fact he's also managed to squeeze out 100 resistance as well is quite impressive. Next, we have the Aladriel. I don't know how often he'd be using this. I'd say he'd be using this into some of those sort of snipe comps, potentially pairing it with his Nana / Aladriel if they're going to be doing a lot of single target sort of burst damage to try and take out some units. The Aladriel can just bring the entire team back and basically nullify anything that they've just done in sniping out their units. Or they have to focus down the Aladriel first, in which case then leaves your other units alive to sort of be able to do their job, so they can't take out your threats fast enough. So he's gone for really, really tanky here again. Another 100 res build, another sort of violent nemesis build, HP, defense, and resistance with some skill 1 accuracy, a little bit of recovery, and then just some minus damage taken from water. Okay, so The fact he's got the minus damage taken from water here, I'd say he would be using this, like I said, into sort of some of those snipe comps. And I would say a Molong specifically, he would be bringing this into. A little bit of minus damage from wind there as well, so also pretty good into, let's say, a Dominic. So maybe some of those Wusa, Molong, Dominic players that look to take out a unit or two first turn, he'll be bringing this into them. They'll have to then focus on him and potentially not be able to kill him with all that minus damage from water. Next we have the Diana on a HP, crit rate, and HP build. We've gone for some skill 2 crit damage and additional damage, and then just some more additional damage on this side here. Really, really high HP. That's a lot of HP on that Diana. Considering it's on a crit rate build, I thought it would be a HP with that amount of HP, but obviously it's just super efficient runes. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter too much these days, like what runes you have on slot 2, 4, and 6 because of the way that the substats sort of roll these days. The rune quality has pumped up on everybody's accounts so much now, and that the substats are so good now that you can get away with, we've seen some units here that aren't running speed slots 2s. We're seeing Dianas that aren't running a HP slot 4, but really efficient substats everywhere else, so you can still hit those stat markers. It's all about the stats that you're getting these days, not necessarily the specific builds that you're having on them. Next we have the Chung Pang here on a violent set. Okay, violent will. We've got a speed, HP, and accuracy build. Additional damage again, more additional damage on the left side, a little bit of minus damage from fire. It's going to be nice. Really tanky. Just sort of, this is kind of your standard run-of-the-mill Chung Pang here. You can run him on a despair set as well, depending on how you want to play. If you're playing a lot of CC, a lot of pushbacks, then typically you want to favor the despair set. If you're sort of playing more of a pivot style where maybe you're not fully controlling the team at all times, then you do want to be taking the violent Chung Pang instead. Okay, next up we have the Oliver here. I know he uses this Oliver. I think it's one of his first picks fairly regularly. I know in SWC it was every single match that he had, they either were pre-banning out his Oliver, and then the following match they would pre-ban out his Volantis, and then just alternating between the two. So his Oliver is incredibly strong. You can see how tanky that is. That's really, really tanky. Very, very difficult to deal with, very difficult to kill. And once Oliver gets up and running, he can CC like most of the team with his resets and his skill rotations and his absorb out of skill 3. So really, really strong unit. Just having him alive for as long as possible to give him the biggest chance to try and get up and running and get those units CC'd is going to be really good. So he's on a speed, HP, and HP build. We've gone for some skill 3, skill 2 accuracy here, and then just some minus damage from fire. Obviously, Marsha being one of his biggest counters, and some minus damage from wind to potentially deal with the Dominics. And he's also got a little bit of minus damage from water here as well. So just overall, he's just trying to survive. This Oliver is just there to be tanky as hell, and still got some decent attack on it. Really good defense on this one as well, and pretty good. And with the artifact accuracy, what has he got? Skill 3, he's got 8. So he is actually at accuracy cap with 85 as well here. So super, super efficient. I dare say this is one of the most efficient violent will sets that he's got. Being that he first picks Oliver quite regularly, he probably want to have his best stats on it as he can. Okay, next up we have the Riley, another 100 res unit here on a violent will set. We've got a speed, HP build. Gone for some skill 1 and skill 3 recovery on this side, and some minus damage from wind on the left side here. So I don't know why he's opted for the minus wind. Maybe he's bringing this specifically into things like Dominic, or he's using it as a his own Oliver counter if that gets stolen. So he kind of wants to deal with some wind units primarily. But that's what he's sort of got on it. And again, just another really tanky unit. Doesn't need any attack whatsoever. Good amount of defense. Really, really fast actually for a Riley, just to have it speed tuned. I think it'll be speed tuned in front of things like his Chung Pang here to offer the potential cleanse before it has to take a turn. It might be in front of, what's that, 50? But that's like 250, and this is at sort of 264. So 14. It should be in front of the Marsha. Yeah, it will be in front of the Marsha. So he's got the attack buff to go in front of the Marsha as well, just to pump out some extra damage on her, as well as offer that cleanse in case that gets stunned or CC'd. Next we have the Dominic here. Dominic's one of the quite easy to rune because he doesn't really require much crit rate, crit damage, or accuracy, so you can really pump up the stats in terms of HP and attack, which he's been able to do here, and still have it pretty fast, but tuned behind his Riley as well. So the Riley can potentially put the attack buff on his Dominic here as well. On a violent nemesis build, we've got speed, HP, and attack. opted for some additional damage on this side, and then just some more additional damage on this side here. With all of his skills being multi-hitters, you do get some extra value out of those. Next we have his Pontos, another one of the units, so he kind of uses this sparingly. I know that it is a pretty strong LD unit, but for him and his playstyle, he doesn't really use it that often. He tends to sort of typically go a little bit more aggression and favor the Annabelle for his sort of cleansing unit instead. She offers a little bit more utility with her skill 3 defense, break, and slows, as opposed to the Pontos slows and things like that. And there's so many strippers getting in the meta right now that Pontos has sort of fallen off a little bit, but he still has his niche uses here, and he can be really, really strong. So he's on a speed HP build, just some more additionals and some skill 2 accuracy to help him land that silence on everybody, and then just some speed proportional to lost HP. Looks like what he's really favored on this side here, to potentially get that extra speed and cut and take a turn, and another 100 res build here. So obviously, being a unit that offers a full team cleanse, really strong and worth having the 100 res build there if you can, right? You've still got to be able to be tanky enough to survive, but with plus 30k HP, plus 767 defense, that's absolutely tanky enough. So the fact that he can squeeze out 100 res on that as well is just really good and really strong. Okay, next up we have the Tableau here on a violent will set. We've got speed, HP, and accuracy with some additional damage and additional damage. Just really tanky. Again, the fact he's on an accuracy build, he's got max accuracy, so he will be landing as many of those stuns, those slows, those debuffs on his skill 1 as he possibly can, and still being tanky enough to take a few hits. And it looks like he's speed tuned to go behind most of his other units here. So behind the Dominic, behind the Chung Pang, behind virtually everybody here, he'll move behind them, allowing his entire team to sort of take a turn, and then the Tableau can go push everybody's attack bar back, give himself their team the speed buff, and then you can go again. So you get 2 turns before your opponent even has the ability to move. Next we have the Eleanor here. I don't know how often he uses this unit as well. It is going to be getting a buff in the upcoming patch that's going to be released probably maybe later on today when I'm recording this video, or maybe tomorrow. So the patch might even be out by the time this video has been released, but it is going to get a buff to its heal, but we'll see how good it is actually going to be. It doesn't offer a great deal of utility, but it can be there, and it can be used as sort of like a little bit of RNG, a little bit of a sort of niche unit when you're looking for some extra cleanse / immunity units. So it can get used. So he has got a set on it here with a speed, HP, and resistance build, and then just some more skill 2 recovery there, which is only going to get a little bit more of a buff once that patch has been released. And then some more speed proportional to lost HP on this side as well. So he's got a few of these units that have got that on them to sort of interrupt somebody without them necessarily realizing as well. The thing with a Nemesis set is when you hit the unit, it will flash up with the green increase attack bar. So then they know, oh, okay, if I hit that unit, it does have the potential to cut. Whereas with the speed proportional to lost HP, they don't get that information, so they can be hitting it, and then it can cut them without them necessarily realizing that it was going to be able to do that. So it's just one of those things, catching your opponent off guard can really swing the course of a match. Okay, next up we have the Volantis. So this is one of his obviously most used units. He's absolutely his strongest LD unit that he's got right now. This is the unit that was pre-banned as every single match that they could during SWC. And it is on a Despair wheel set. We've got a speed, HP, and accuracy build. Really good additional damage on the right and left side here. And just really tanky, good attack, good defense, really good defense actually. 864 is incredibly good considering it's got a slightly lower base defense. And then speed tuned to go in front of his entire team with still really good accuracy. He's missing sort of 5 from being a cap there, but he might have, no, he doesn't have any in artifacts. So 5 off being max accuracy, but just super efficient Volantis, and like he's just an insane unit. The fact he can strip, do damage, and CC, and interrupt, he just fills so many roles in the team, and definitely is one of Pinis's favorite and most used units. Next we have the Magnum here, a 0 speed Magnum. I'd say this is just for those sort of like niche sort of teams. Attack, crit damage, and attack. He's got some extra damage on this side, some extra damage on this side. So this would be good into some of those like single target snipe comps that utilize Kali, things like that. Anytime they put buffs on, he gains a turn or gains attack bar based on their buffs. So he can cut and interrupt and then potentially snipe out a unit before they get to take their turn and snipe one of your units. So he's kind of like a counter snipe unit. Next we have the Nasha. So the last time I was on his account, he'd only just pulled the Nasha, so he didn't actually have it runed up at the time. So he has got it runed up now. He has been utilizing it. It's another one of those really strong LD units. pairs incredibly well with some of his strippers like the Volantis, and pairs really, really well with the Nana as well. Obviously, being a Beast Rider, it's difficult to kill because it kind of has 2 lives. The fact that it gets dismounted and then sort of is still in the field in human form. And then when it gets revived by the Nana, it gets back onto the Beast as well, giving it back its 2 lives. So all of the Beast Riders pair incredibly well with Nana. The Nasha in particular with the strip and consistent defense break on both skill 1 and skill 2 with, well, it's skill 3 is the defense break, right? It's a passive defense break, so kind of like Lauren. So a reliable defense breaker, does big damage on a speed, crit rate and attack build. We've got some extra skill 3 and skill 2 accuracy for the strip and the defense breaks, and then just some more crit damage is good and bad and single target crit damage on the left side here on a violent will set. So really good, really efficient. Again, quite tanky. A lot of people, because the Beast Riders do have the double live situation, a lot of people will typically run them a little bit squishier around like the plus 10k HP, but he's opted for a little bit more of a tankier build here and gone for a crit rate build as opposed to a crit damage build. She still offers really good damage on that crit rate build. With a violent proc can potentially take a unit out anyway, but the fact she's got that amount of HP just means that, again, when they hit it and they're expecting to be able to dismount it, and that can potentially be their game plan, is use this unit to try and snipe out that Nasha as soon as possible. So then they'll need to land the dismount on it with their first attack that they're planning to do, to then have their second attack with the follow-up be able to kill the dismounted beast. The fact it's got a little bit more HP on it, again, you can catch your opponent off guard, and if they can't dismount it with their first hit, well then their second hit has to dismount it, and then they're sort of out of attacks, and you're still left there with some damage dealing on the field, where their plan was to have it completely removed and remove the threats completely. Next up, we have the Siamese. I don't know how often he uses this. I think this is just going to be a super niche pick into anything like maybe a Hathor, or he could potentially be picking this up maybe into things like Praha as well. The fact that it's passive here will removes all sleeps from all allies, so they're kind of the 2 that come to mind that you probably want to be using this into. But also with its skill 1 offering the put the target to sleep for 1 turn, so because it puts the target to sleep for 1 turn and then you fall asleep, it's got a reasonable chance to do it. What does it go up to here? 60% chance to put the target to sleep for 1 turn. So he's opted for a triple revenge build with a speed, HP, just some skill 2 recovery on that side, and some speed within ability. So, okay, that's actually really good on this because it puts itself to sleep. It'll stack that speed up as much as possible. Next, we have the Veramos here on a Violent Nemesis build, speed, HP. We've gone for some skill 2 accuracy on this side, bit of crit damage there, and then just some minus damage on the left side here with most of the elements, and a little bit more speed proportional to lost HP as well. Next, we have the Umduat here on a Despair, speed, HP. We've gone for some extra accuracy on the right side, and then just some minus damage on the left side. Again, probably just like a counter cleave type situation. A lot of those really fast turn 1 players will typically run fully off will as well, so the Umduat getting the guaranteed boost at the end of each one of their turns can cut and interrupt them, and then with his skill 2 offer some pushback and absorb, as well as a potential Despair Sun just to interrupt them. And then lastly, we have this is actually a really new unit which he got to sort of, he didn't use this in SWC, but he did showcase this in the match that he had, in the 2v2 match that he had with Apps versus Villapility, and I can't remember who Villapity's teammate was in that match, apologies to that guy, but they used it in that match there. So the pure vanilla cookie, the dark one, this is a really strong unit. It looks like he's got it on Swift here with a speed, HP, accuracy build, gone for some speed proportional to lost HP, a little bit of skill 1 recovery, and then some minus damage from fire and wind and light and whatever on the left side here, just to try and stay alive. He did message me before and said that he will be looking to, when he does a rerune after this special league, swap this unit over to Violent, as a Swift set isn't really ideal. With having such a low base speed, you don't really get as much value out of the 25% speed increase from the Swift set. So he is looking to get this onto a Violent build once he does his rerune, which is going to just add extra sort of utility to this unit. And it's a really strong, powerful unit. It just offers so much utility with the strip, decrease attack speed, and attack bar pushback on skill 3. It's another Oblivion unit on skill 2, and then it also offers a heal based on its own max HP on skill 1 with a 44% HP lead. So there's a lot in the kit of this unit. So really strong unit, and really looking forward to seeing some more matches come out of him next season utilizing this with the rest of his monster box. Between the pure vanilla cookie and the Volantis, these two as his main two strippers that also offer like incredibly wide range of everything else that they do. Bit of healing, bit of CC, Oblivion, especially like I said earlier, he's running into a lot of Junos running a Volantis comp, so having a unit that also strips, that also brings in that extra Oblivion to potentially deal with the Juno is an incredibly powerful unit and fits his playstyle and monster box perfectly. Now, he does have a few other units here that are runed up that he maybe uses in very, very sparingly niche situations. He's got a Vampire Susano here. Who else has he got? He's got a Wusa runed up just in case he does want that extra immunity unit. He's already got a couple of options for that, but you never know. Sometimes you might want to have a water immunity unit there, so he's got that runed ready to go. He's got a Vampire Mo Long here. We've got a Despair Heigang, potentially just as like a Gianna counter or as a, whatever he's running into. Might want to just pick that up in case. So he's just got it there. It's not favoured because he probably doesn't use it very often, but it is there in case. He's got a Tessarion here as well. Another Oblivion unit just in case, running on a double Revenge wheel set. So he's got a few extra options here just in case he does want them. But anyway, guys, that's it. That is the monster box that Pinis was using last season and during SWC. You can see here that he finished rank 35 last season. He's always one of the top 100 players. He's one of the absolute best players in the world. And it's been an absolute treat to be able to jump on here and check out all of his builds. So thank you very much to Pinis as well. Make sure you guys check out his Instagram as well. If any of you guys are on Instagram, he's constantly updating his content on there. He explains why he builds things specific ways. He explains how he utilizes them, and it's a great source of information and a great resource for you guys to potentially learn a little bit more from one of the best players in the world. So make sure you check that out. I'll leave a link to his Instagram in the description down below. And that's it for today, boys. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.